It's 1985, and legendary horror director Tobe Hooper is fresh off Poltergeist. He's given a massive budget, creative freedom, and a script based on a pulpy sci-fi horror novel called The Space Vampires. What he delivers is something Hollywood and audiences were not ready for. Lifeforce, a chaotic blend of apocalyptic horror, sci-fi spectacle, and, of course, one of the most infamous on-screen nudity displays of all time. But let's be honest. If you've heard anything about Lifeforce, it's probably about its most notorious production quirk, Hooper's unusual level of attention to Mathilda May's presentation. It's a behind-the-scenes story that has since overshadowed the film itself. But Lifeforce is so much more than just one bizarre directorial obsession. It's an extravagant, messy, hypnotic, and utterly unique sci-fi horror epic that still stands as one of the most ambitious yet bizarrely executed films of its time. So before we dive into the weirdest moments of production, let's talk about what makes Lifeforce such a one-of-a-kind cinematic experience. The film begins with the space shuttle Churchill discovering an enormous 150-mile-long alien spacecraft hidden in the tail of Halley's Comet. The comet was chosen for the story because it was due to pass by Earth in 1986, just a year after the movie's release, which Hooper believed would give the film added relevance. Inside, the astronauts find hundreds of shriveled bat-like creatures and 3 stunningly human-looking beings suspended in crystalline pods. 2 men, 1 woman, and no clothes. What do? They bring them back to Earth. Because what could possibly go wrong? A lot, as it turns out. The moment the female figure, played by the mesmerizing Mathilda May, awakens, she begins draining the life force from everyone she encounters, leaving behind desiccated, shrieking husks. She strolls naked through a high-security research facility, mesmerizing guards, scientists, and basically any man with a pulse. But what makes her so terrifying isn't just her beauty, it's her otherworldly presence. With piercing eyes and an eerie, hypnotic grace, she moves like a predator who knows exactly how much power she holds. It's a performance that's as unsettling as it is unforgettable. As the story progresses, things only get weirder. The film reveals that May's character isn't just any vampire, she's a member of an ancient alien race that has been visiting Earth for centuries, inspiring myths of traditional vampires. The energy-draining epidemic spreads like wildfire, transforming London into a vampiric apocalypse. Victims don't just die, they resurrect, hungry for more life force, leading to some of the film's most nightmarish sequences. The city descends into chaos, with bodies piling up in the streets, soldiers firing wildly, and survivors desperately trying to contain the outbreak before all of humanity is lost. Meanwhile, Colonel Tom Carlson, Steve Railsback, the lone survivor of the Churchill mission, shares a strange psychic link with the female vampire. His visions guide the hunt for her, but they also pull him deeper into her influence. At one point, in a particularly bizarre twist, Carlson and Dr. Armstrong, played by a young Patrick Stewart, share a psychic connection so intense that it leads to a mind-melding kiss. One of the film's strangest and most infamous moments. By the time Carlson finally confronts the alien vampiress in the film's climax, the fate of the world hangs in the balance. Behind the camera, Lifeforce was just as wild as what ended up on screen. With a budget of $25 million, massive for a Canon Films production, it was one of the company's most ambitious projects. Hooper, still riding the high from Poltergeist, was given free rein to make the movie his way. But creative freedom came with challenges. The film ran over schedule, over budget, and had key scenes scrapped due to lack of funds. The initial cut was over 2 hours long before being slashed to 116 minutes for international release and an even shorter 101-minute version for U.S. audiences, leading to a choppier, more confusing narrative. Then there's the now infamous Mathilda May controversy. Only 18 years old at the time of filming, May was cast because she was one of the few actresses willing to spend most of her screen time completely nude. But Hooper's attention to her appearance went beyond the usual director's concerns. Initially, it was decided that she should be fully waxed to make her look more alien, but the result, as Hooper himself later admitted, was that she looked too naked, almost unsettlingly so. This led to a bizarre reversal where she had to regrow some hair, and every morning a makeup artist was tasked with meticulously grooming and even tinting it to match Hooper's vision. Some of the crew found this focus disturbing, and the makeup artist herself later described it as one of the strangest tasks she'd ever been assigned. The film's troubled production didn't stop there. Several key scenes were never shot due to budget overruns, and at one point, the movie was temporarily shut down because the studio had simply run out of money. Special effects, led by Star Wars alum John Dykstra, were another challenge. Some of the film's effects were groundbreaking, such as the eerie blue energy beams transferring Lifeforce, while others, like the rubbery, shriveling corpses, haven't aged as well. Hooper's vision was ambitious, but the technology available at the time couldn't always keep up. Despite its narrative chaos, Lifeforce has moments of undeniable brilliance. Henry Mancini's bombastic orchestral score gives the film a grand, almost operatic feel, heightening the sense of catastrophe as London falls apart. It's a dramatic departure from Mancini's usual jazzy compositions, but it works perfectly for a movie this excessive. However, when Lifeforce hit theaters, audiences didn't know what to make of it. The film flopped spectacularly, making just $11 million against its massive budget. Critics were equally baffled. Janet Maslin of the New York Times called it hysterical vampire porn, while others were simply confused by its tonal shifts. Was it a horror film? A sci-fi adventure? A softcore alien seduction movie? The answer was all of the above, and audiences weren't ready for that. Today, Lifeforce stands as one of the most bizarre, ambitious, and unforgettable sci-fi horror films of the 1980s. It's a film that took huge risks, many of which didn't pay off at the time, but have since contributed to its status as a cult classic. Now it's time to hear from you. Have you seen Lifeforce? Do you think it deserves more recognition, or is it a gloriously entertaining train wreck? And what's your take on Tobe Hooper's directorial choices? Let's talk about it in the comments.